free women's fasting calendar. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Taylor. I love talking about peptides, how to teach women how to optimize their hormones, how to build muscle and lose fat all at the same time. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you are an OG, thank you for tuning in for this video. Today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how many peptides are too many. I get asked all the time when I do my peptide stack videos, can you take all these peptides at the same time? Is there a limit on how many peptides you can take? So I want to clarify is that I stack peptides all the time. I'm always taking multiple peptides together, but it's knowing how to stack the peptides, how to pick what peptides from the different categories and how to pair them together. So that way you're not stuck taking all the same peptides that are in the same category when you might be doing yourself a dissatisfaction. So let's break down. I'm going to explain this and cover it all for you. Peptide stacking can be super powerful and very beneficial, but I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by not knowing what peptides to pair together, not knowing how to pick. Sometimes I see a lot of women end up pairing a bunch of the same peptides in the same category, and it's not always a benefit when you do that. So I'm going to break it down on how to basically pick the peptides, and I've broken this down into categories for you guys with examples. I don't have all the peptides on this example list, or else we would be here for a while, and no one probably wants to hear me talk for hours about peptides, but maybe you do. So I'm going to break this down just for simplicity's sake on fat loss, muscle growth, and growth hormone access, cognitive function, and immune function, healing, and I have a bunch of categories for you guys. So I'm about to break this down and kind of explore how to pick and what to expect when you are trying to pair these peptides together. So the first thing that you need to do is you really want to make sure that you have a strategy with picking and pairing your peptides and knowing what your goal is. If your goal is to really focus on, losing fat, but you want to maintain your muscle, but you also want to have like some cognitive brain function in there, or if you're struggling with anxiety, you can pair those together. But let's just say you're somebody who you're not focused on losing fat or cognitive function. You're in a recovery healing process, whether you're healing from an injury, from a surgery, that can be a whole thing. So it's really important to really make sure you're focused on what your main goal is. That way it can be tailored to what exactly your stack needs to be. So that is just what's so amazing about peptides, is that it can be fully customized for you, but it's really important that you target what your goal is with these peptides. So if you're somebody who's wanting to lose fat, okay, we're going to focus on losing fat. If you are dealing with some crazy autoimmune issues, like we're going to focus on immune function. If you are, again, focusing on healing, let's get a good recovery stack going. If you are just really wanting to focus on longevity and helping with your cognitive function, that's a whole subject too. So it's really important that you just make sure you understand what your goal is. And that doesn't mean you can't combine all these categories at the same time, but you just really want to make sure that you're focusing on your overall goal with these peptides. So let's start off with a category with our growth hormone stimulating peptides. So for example, I have on here Ipamorelin, CJC1259, IGF-LR3, and Tesamorelin. These are all great growth hormone producing peptides. They're all going to work a little bit differently. So it's knowing when you're wanting to use each of them. Now, some of these you can pair together. Some of these you should not pair together. It doesn't mean anything bad is going to happen if you even if you paired all of these together, nothing bad's going to happen. You're just doing yourself a dissatisfaction. So it's important to know. So for instance, I always say this is that you don't want to take Ipamorelin and Tesamorelin at the same time, because those are the two most dominant, prominent growth hormone peptides that I'm always recommending. And I always like to make sure I'm doing a rotation out of them. Yes, you can take them together and you are basically going to be able to put on muscle really quick, but you're going to maintain a lot of water. And then once it's time to come off and cycle off these peptides, you don't have one to choose from anymore because you took them both at the same time. So that's why I like to take them separately. Now, so what would be a good example on how do I pick which one I want to use? Well, let's just say if you are wanting to focus more on promoting lean muscle mass and you don't want to deal with so much bloating, I would say pick Tesamorelin. Especially if you're a woman and you are struggling with sleep, you're going to love with Ipamorelin. That's always going to be my first growth hormone releasing peptide that's going to help stimulate growth hormone production. That's just my favorite is Ipamorelin. Now, let's say if you are wanting to target more on visceral fat, Tesamorelin is going to be the better option. And then let's say if you are wanting to focus on building muscle, that's where the IGF-1 LR3 is going to be beneficial. And then let's say if you are trying to enhance the growth hormone production, that is where CJC1259 with no DAC is going to be beneficial. But what's so great is that Ipamorelin, CJC1259 pair really good together. So a lot of times I take that as a blend and it's all in together. It's a great combo to do together. I've also taken IGF-1 LR3 while taking Ipamorelin, and it does great together. You also compare this alone by itself, does great because you can only be on this peptide for a very short period of time because our body just naturally builds a stronger resistance to it quicker. So sometimes I'll just even take that by itself. And then Tesamorelin, I'm usually taking that by itself. I'm not normally pairing things. So let's just say, okay, you're making a peptide plan. Okay, what one of these do you want to pick for your growth hormone stimulant? That's where you get to kind of pick. You can just pick any of these by themselves, or you can pair the ones that combine really well together, or just make sure you just don't combine IPA and Tessa together. It's just nothing bad's going to happen. Now we're on to understanding how to pick peptides for fat loss, which is going to be covered under our GLP-1s. Now, have I paired Tirzepatide and Retaturtide together? Yes. Is that possible to do? Yes. Is it fully beneficial? No. So it's also now we're going into understanding which peptide we want to take for our GLP-1. Understanding the difference between Retaturtide, Semaglutide, and Tirzepatide is really important. And yes, Tirzepatide is no longer available from chemical research companies. It's still out there and people still take it. So a lot of times now you just have to have this prescribed from a doctor. But it's also knowing which GLP-1 you want to take. So the benefits are basically Retaturtide is your triple agonist GLP-1, which is basically comes in at top of the class of your GLP-1 to take because it is hitting your GLP-1, your GIP, and your glucagon receptors. So that to me is why right now Retaturtide is my favorite GLP-1 because it is hitting 3 different receptors, whereas in Semaglutide only hits one. It's only going to hit your GLP-1 receptor. And then Tirzepatide is a dual agonist, so it's only going to be hitting your GLP-1 and your GIP receptor. So that is where, kind of have to come in there and pick which one do you want to do, which one sounds like it's going to be the most beneficial for you to do. And that's kind of like how you want to pick between which GLP-1 to take. Let's move on to our category of longevity and mitochondria health, which is one of my favorite things to talk about on this channel is mitochondria health, is knowing what ones to pick from. So we have, for our mitochondria example, we have SS31, which is going to help with oxidative stress, MOTC, which is going to help with fat and metabolism, and then we have epitalon, which is going to help with reducing cellular aging, and it's basically going to be more of our longevity, more of our anti-aging um, peptide. So it's kind of knowing when to pick these. So I would say, for example, like I personally, if I was on a cycle of a GLP-1, I would probably pick SS31 out of the category of longevity and mitochondria health because I'm going to save my MOTS-C when I'm not on a GLP-1. So that's kind of how we can pair those off. So it's just knowing which ones to take. Now, would it hurt to take all of these? Again, no, but you're just not going to do yourself any benefit from doing that. So that's kind of like how like to break down the difference of the longevity mitochondria helping the mitochondria health peptides. So that's just another example. So now we have an example of our healing peptides. So these peptides are going to be the category for helping us with recovery. Healing is also going to help with inflammation. So it's also knowing which one of these peptides to do. And you can also pair a lot of these peptides together. So we have BPC 157, which is an excellent peptide. It's just like a really good, like everybody can benefit from using this peptide. Is going to help with recovery time going faster, is going to help with reducing inflammation. And then we have TB500, which is going to help with muscle repair, wound repair, tissue repair, tissue recovery, and flexibility within the tissues. And then we have GHK-Cu, our copper peptide, which is going to be really beneficial for overall skin health. So this is going to help with like healing wounded skin. It's also going to help with tissue because of it's going to help with collagen production, and it's going to help the body to naturally repair during the healing process. So pairing these three together is like the ultimate like Wolverine stack for recovery and healing to pair them together, but you can definitely take these separately. So it's just again knowing what if you're somebody you're struggling more just with like inflammation like throughout the body or inflammation throughout the gut, you just really probably need the BPC 157. If you are dealing with any kind of healing process like of like if you had like an ACL surgery, a tear labrum, TB 500 is going to be beneficial for helping with the tissue repair. And then if you are also just, again, in another healing process of tissue muscle repair, GHK-Cu is going to be very beneficial, especially to help with the wound recovery, the healing recovery from having any like cuts and openings from having surgery. So the GHK is going to help with like the recovery from like the scar from incisions. Whereas in like TB500 is going to help with the internal muscle and tissue repair. So that's kind of how they're a little bit different, but these are all really great. But it's just kind of knowing when you need them. A lot of times I don't use TB500 unless I am really sore, like muscular wise from like exercising, or if I've tweaked something or pulled something in the gym. That's really the only time I'm going to be using TB500, which is GHK. You guys hear me talk about all the beauty benefits from it. So I'll use that separately. And then the BPC, I'll use that a lot of times just if I'm feeling inflamed. But pairing all these together is a great healing recovery, but it's just knowing which one to take. So again, figure out where you're at in your journey. And if you're needing this, chances are you might not need any of these, but that's just kind of how you go about picking. So, cognitive enhancing peptides. This is a peptide subject I get asked a lot about, especially with women. So, there's so many different ones that you can take, and this is just kind of an example that I have right now. I have Melanotan 1, which is great for cognitive function. I've talked about Melanotan 1 a ton on this channel. and just how it really just helps improve your cognitive function, to nature, to helping with concentrate. It has helped me a ton personally with my luteal phase of my menstrual cycle. It really helps me personally a lot with the anxiety. And then we have Cmax, which is going to help with more mental clarity. So this is going to be more so to help with your brain concentrating, is how I want you to think of it. It's more like really good for like multitasking and to help you kind of stay more on task. Whereas in like Melanotan 1, I like that more for just cognitive and spiritual enhancement. And then we have Selank, which is a great peptide, and Selank is going to help with the nervous system, and that is going to be a better peptide to pick if you are struggling with stress and anxiety. So it's kind of knowing like where you want to focus with your cognitive health. If you are just trying to like connect more creatively and spiritually, Melanotan 1. If you're wanting to connect and you kind of need help more of like concentrating and staying on task, that's where Cmax is going to be better. If you are, again, dealing with more a lot of mental stress and anxiety, and you have panic attacks, Selank is going to be better. These all work really great, and you can pair these together. But again, it's just kind of knowing like what your cognition and function that you're trying to focus on. So that's just kind of how I would just how I would decide picking between these ones to use. So here's just again to kind of go over the tips that you want to make sure you're keeping in mind when you're picking your peptides and when you're picking your peptide stack is you want to make sure that you are focusing on a goal and what that main goal is. And then you want to make sure that you are cycling their peptides correctly and that you are taking your time off of them as I have in the peptide cheat sheet. Also want to make sure that you are starting off with lower doses. That's why like I get asked a lot of times like why are the doses so low on the peptide cheat sheet? Well, it's important to start low. That way your body doesn't build a resistance up to these peptides because these things are naturally found in our body, and that's why we have to cycle off them so we don't get a resistance buildup to them. And then just making sure that you are also making the lifestyle adjustments changes that go along with these peptides. And you hear me talk about on this channel all the time about how lifestyle change is so important and that you have to make a lifestyle change in order for these peptides to be effective. So that is really important. So there you have it. That is me breaking down. I hope this is more easier to understand what I'm talking about, stacking peptides, showing you guys like how to break them down, how to pick from the categories to pick your peptides. I hope this was more understanding and just gives you some more clarity. This is a question that I get asked a lot. It's really good to be mindful, like when I'm talking and sharing about stacks that I do and stacks that I try, it's from my experience. It's, you know, entertainment purposes. I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I am just a wellness coach. So it's really important to keep that in mind and know that when I'm talking about these stacks is that, or if I'm talking about certain peptides that I use, especially like during like my peptides for fat loss video, I got a lot of questions about can I pair these all together? And it's important to know like I'm sharing with you information is that like you have to decide which peptide is right for you with your lifestyle, your routines. But if you are wanting to know more and trying to understand more about how to stack peptides, go join the Feminine Flow Collective, my private women's group. We talk about this a lot in that group. And then the other thing that you guys can do, you can either book a consultation call with me and I kind of can clarify any questions you have about your peptide stack, or I can actually make you a personalized peptide plan. So I basically take all the hard work out of it trying to decide. And a lot of women get decision fatigue when you put so many options out there, they don't know how to pick. And that is okay because I struggle with that as well too sometimes. So I take that hard part out with you. I design the plan. I tell you how much of everything to take and whatnot. So that is super beneficial if you're interested in wanting to understand how to make a personalized peptide plan and you want some guidance. You can go and check out in the description below how you can book and get that service with me. So that way you don't have to worry about overthinking it. But if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below or feel free to email me over on my website. All of the links on how to work with me is in the LinkedIn description. And where I personally buy all of my peptides, that is linked in the LinkedIn description. So go check that out. My companies that I like to order from are on there, and I have discount codes for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, I hope you're doing amazing, and I will chat with you guys soon.